Bat music.
He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat
Minute! Greetings, citizens of Gotham, and welcome once again to Bat Minute Returns, the show that makes its listeners feel like the cat that got the cream 3 days a week. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
And I am the person spilling that cream all over the floor,
Ugh.
Niall McGowan.
That was a hideous image. Jesus Christ. Well, today we are joined by our very special guest. You will surely know her by now. It is a filmmaker, YouTuber, and expectant mother, Stephanie Palacino.
Yep, that's me.
That's actually just realized that. Yes, I mean, you must be like the reigning Bat Minute champion at the minute because you were on the original show. You're on that Die Hard.
Die
guest
Hard,
spot.
yeah, that was fun.
We did, the hiatus project, and now you're on this one. And so I think the only other person.
Yeah, the ninja was. What was 4? I think this is fourth. Well, there's definitely more than 4, but I think 4 days is what I could think of.
I think like the only other person who'll beat that is like Dale Kingsmill, and she's called her minutes for this movie, and they're way at the end, so you get to be like champion for like another 6 months or something.
Oh man, I'll make a plaque.
Who else even comes close? I'm trying to think. Ricky Wiley, he's coming close.
Gaz and Kit as well, but then they didn't do hiatus projects, so they'll never quite make it.
But actually, no, Kit has one up on everyone because he's doing the new theme song. So he's in every episode.
Technically.
Anywho. Yes, anyway, this episode is, in fact, minute 31. Is it not?
Yeah, I think was
I'm losing
30,
track already
31,
because
32. I don't know. That's what I have.
it's exactly. We're so deep into this thing, and so much has happened already that it's you lose track. This minute starts with Selina in a haze, in a daze, unaware of what's going on, and it ends with unbridled rage.
All right, let's just all start some basic things all people should know. Do not actually feed your cats milk or cream. I think we should all, give people this public service announcement, because if you want cat diarrhea f***ing everywhere, that's what's going to happen. All right?
Yeah, without fail. Don't give them cheese, nothing milky, no lactose.
That's the thing, though, because they play on this, though. Like, because she starts drinking the milk as well. It's like, because she's becoming Catwoman. And it's like, oh, yeah, but apparently now, all these years later, it's just like, yeah, you should, like, the cats drink milk cliche is sort of, that's become like an offensive stereotype now.
It's one
of the many problematic things about its stereotypical treatment of cats.
Well, the thing is, though, the cat will drink the milk.
because it tastes nice.
It'll want the milk. It'll beg for it. It loves it, yeah. It's like, it's really bad for them as well, though. It's kind of like the cat equivalent of having a Big Mac or something. It's like that you should not be having that.
I mean, to be honest, dogs are similar. Like I am the worst because I've definitely given Cashew condensed milk a few times, and it has given her, like, one time, like, the dog had really bad diarrhea, and my husband comes up and he's like, why is the dog so sick? And I'm like, what? He's like, what'd you feed her? I'm like, nothing except ice cream. No, I'm the worst. She'll beg and I'll totally give it to her. I'm like, okay, just a little bit. And then I realize she's eaten half of my ice cream. I'm like, oh crap.
Oh my God.
But isn't this the thing as well, though? I've seen the information go around Facebook, like the whole business, even feeding the ducks now. This whole, like, going down, feeding ducks bread. Not supposed to be doing that either. That's supposed to be really bad for ducks.
Yeah, it's bad for their stomachs. They probably are gluten intolerant, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, people give the wrong food to, like, rabbits because,
the carrots are too sugary for them.
Yeah, there's much better food for them to eat. Don't give them loads of carrots. That can be a snack.
Yeah, it's like you can't overfeed a pig, so don't just, like, if you have pet pigs, you can't just let them eat anything. You have to make sure to give them special pig chow, not like, there's two types. There's the kind for like industrial swine, and then there's like, pet pig.
Ugh.
So I feel
The industrial one probably contains bits of
possibly.
pig,
No,
knowing the British farming industry's history with cows.
What's going to be next, though? It's like, don't let dogs chew on bones, because that's...
I know you can't give them chicken bones because they're like, they can make them
Yeah,
choke.
too small.
But
We should be bringing this stuff to, like, really enforcing it on Twitter and seeing if we can get, like, a sort of, like, an alt-right, old-fashioned, we used to do this, we used to feed cats milk.
back in my day, we could feed the cats milk and give the dogs chicken bones, and the colored people couldn't come into the same places as me. Good days, that's exactly what they're going to say. And women knew their place, which was the kitchen.
I love the attitude of people like that, where I don't care if I offend them and they stop listening. You can all just bugger off.
Like if you actually have the one, like that one person. I have a few alt-writers. I'll definitely say I don't know if they consider themselves alt-writers, but I definitely do on my YouTube channel, because it's funny because I consider myself very leftist, but I guess I'm slightly like left of center, and thus I'll attract a couple people by saying like the occasional thing like it wasn't even like a bad thing. I would say like in the beginnings of the transgender movement, I was like, I'm kind of confused by what exactly it means to be gender neutral, and it was like a legit question, and people were very nice that they told me in the comments like what it was, but because they're like these different genders.
Oh my God,
damn,
no!
Like, they got like rants, and I was like, that's not what I said. And I'm a anti-censorship person. That's my one stand I'll always take. I go, no matter how offensive it is, let them speak so you can see how stupid they are. I'd rather know the true stupidity of someone. Like, I don't care what they're saying. I'll let them just rant and be crazy, because all you need to do is just like ignore them or see how stupid they are. And I guess that's also an opinion that sometimes attracts a certain segment of society that I don't always agree with, let's just say.
My freedoms.
My freedoms. Exactly.
But those people, like, they want they keep talking about family values and things, I'm looking after my kids. But then when anyone tries to create a better world for those kids, they complain. Like, well, in my day, we had to work 1,000 hours a week.
I know. I got one. Who was it? I forgot who I was arguing with. It was someone who was like mad about, I guess, multiculturalism, something like that, because he starts going on the rant that is it so bad that I want my kids to look like me? And I said to him, I'm like, well, the only guarantee of that is if you're sister. So, to be fair, that's the only way you can guarantee your kids will look like you, because even if you're the same goddamn race, that doesn't guarantee anything.
No, absolutely not. There's plenty of people I know look nothing like their family.
And to be fair, so before we jump on, I just always remember, like, have you? It's like they always tend to be like the ugliest, like most inbred looking motherfuckers. It's like, oh, you really should be diversifying this gene pool, because damn.
Yes, please do. As you can probably tell, everyone, there's not a lot happening in this minute.
Yeah.
It's a great minute, don't get me wrong, but it's very hard to actually discuss.
It's one of those things. It's a great sequence as you're watching the film normally, but then as you're analyzing it minute by minute, it's like, yeah, I guess she's just kind of walking over and she gets some milk. And she pours and
then pour milk. Yeah. Ooh, milk on the floor. I mean, to be honest, that is something that kind of like makes me cringe a little bit, because like I've accidentally, milk when it spills is like one of those things that like it's thick and creamy and it gets in and you're cleaning it up for freaking days.
You can
just
smell
like no matter
it.
how much yeah, exactly.
I think I spilt milk on a kitchen floor in an apartment I had like 2 or 3 years ago, and like days later, and I cleaned it up and everything, and days later it still was like, what the hell is that smell? And it's like, I didn't clean it enough. It was like the residues.
It's curdling underneath the floorboards.
Yeah.
Like that's what it starts to do.
But the thing is though, like if I had a cat and this was me pouring the milk into the bowl, that would happen like 3 out of 5 days of the week,
It's like, here you go, cats. Yeah, I get that. I mean, like that would be old me, but like my dog is so freaking spoiled. Like I don't have a cat, just in case you guys are wondering. People have attempted to give me cats so often. And like,
hey Stephanie, do you want this cat? No, for the last time, no.
It happens so often. I don't know, it's just a thing. Like I have always said, actually, this is true. Like I will never go out of my way to ever get a cat, because should I, one day someone will get to me. I use the excuse I have a dog right now, and I'm like, no, I can't. Dog will eat the cat. Thus, she will. Oh, Cashew, definitely. She tries to eat the birds. She's brought back squirrels. The Shiba Inu is a very, what's it called? They have a strong hunting instinct, is what they say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's what they were bred for, so it's definitely not. No freaking cats. But it's funny to see Selena's like apartment. Sorry, hold on. I'm looking at it now because it's like so like it's Michelle Pfeiffer, basically one of the hottest women ever in existence, right?
Yeah.
And she's like,
Can't argue
yeah,
with that.
and she has the most grandma like apartment of a woman of 3 times her age. And it's all pink, and it's nasty Pepto-Bismol pink too. It's not even like nice pink. And
No, it is a bit grim.
yeah, it's that. Ugh, it's that just dire, horrible. I don't even know what to call it. It's like that word. Think of the worst shade of pink in existence, and that's what it is. It's just like puke pink.
Well, that's the thing. You do wonder though, like. I think we've kind of talked about it a bit, like before, like how much of this is actually Selena's taste? Because you get like she has this very, we'll say within this minute, seemingly some sort of antagonistic relationship with her mother, where like she just has.
Oh yeah, her mom's like, yeah, call her.
Yeah, and you wonder if it's like. Maybe this is all stuff like a lot of these decorations are things like her family gave her and stuff, and they expect a lot from her and stuff, and that's why like, why are you wasting your time as a secretary in Gotham and all this sort of business. And you wonder like, yeah, she maybe she doesn't like any of this stuff. This is all this like, this is what people expect of me as a woman, as a Kyle from the Newport Kyles, or like for whichever family she comes from, like that, like their family, like, oh yeah, you should be. You like pink stuff and you like fluffy things. Here's a bunch of fluffy toys and stuff. And like that's maybe all that stuff that she's been living to someone else's standards. And this is partially why she goes a little crazy.
Yeah.
She goes completely crazy here within this minute.
It's like,
well, to be fair, she just died. Of course she's gone crazy.
yeah, no, she came back.
Did she die?
She did. I don't know. The cat's kind of like. Is the idea that they brought her back to life? Because like I always had this idea. There's one scene that as a child freaked me out, and it still freaks me out from that. Like no one shot, not a scene, but from that scene where she falls out the window and that whole shit. When the cats are chewing on her fingers, I'm like,
oh yeah, it's gross. We just talked about that. Yeah,
like it terrifies me.
It's hideous, isn't it? I've always seen it as she's dead, and I've brought this up as well. She's dead, and the cats are somehow bloody magical.
I think that too. Like,
with
I
no
also
explanation.
thought she must be coming back to life somehow. I don't know how. But I also thought she was dead, and then by some strange cat magic, she.
Well, I'm very much of the no. She was just because they make a point of her going through all those things, and she's fallen down. Like there's the things that kind of soften the blow. And then when she hits the ground, like she doesn't hit it with all that much force. It's like she takes it. It'd be pretty bad.
It's a huge building.
Yeah, it's a pretty huge building. She should be dead. Like even if she hit all that stuff to break her fall, I think that stuff would have impaled into her rib cage, and she should be dead.
So like I said, she's really. It's always been my sort of thing. Like no, she was really, really injured, and like the old Selina Kyle is dead because of the trauma of this, but. Like she didn't actually, and then the cats just revived her like that.
I assumed it had to be magic because there was that whole bit at the end. Spoilers if you
that is the other thing.
That she has 9 lives. That's like part of like a magical realism element, if you will.
But even at that though, I would say that's like because she's just so crazy. Like he's shooting her and she just keeps coming. Like that's like it's supposed to be like, oh, you could interpret that as like, yeah, she's magic, or it could be like. No, she's just, she's that determined to get the max correct. It's like, it doesn't matter if you keep shooting her. She's just going to keep coming for him.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's good, though, that you could read it either way. Like, legitimately, there's nothing to say either one is right.
Not to spoil those minutes as well, though, but it's a classic Dumb and Dumber moment of like, why doesn't he just shoot her in the head? Like, shoot her in the face. What are you shooting her in the legs for?
I also like the way we're going to argue, well, not argue, but we're going to bring this up like every week now until the end of this film, pretty much. It's just like, did she die?
Well, they have that. Isn't that little bit at the end that I always assumed was her coming? Oh no, dog fart.
Oh.
Sorry. Dog gas. Damn.
Leave that in, Niall.
Damn.
Although that's the thing, though, you're talking about like a shot of it though that always messed you up as a kid, Stephanie. Like the thing is though, because I think I've even recently kind of briefly talked about this on Facebook, is that because we hear now for like one of the first times the sort of Catwoman leitmotif, that violin. The thing is though, because recently on Netflix they put up the horrifying UFO abduction movie, Fire in the Sky.
Oh,
and
God, yeah.
And I rewatched it, and the thing is, as soon as I put it on the opening credits, because that film scared the crap out of me as a kid. The thing is, the film itself, boring as anything.
It is. It's only those 15 minutes that are like horror.
There's like a bit at the start where he gets abducted. That's pretty terrifying. And then you see the flashback to on the ship later on. And that's like horrifying. Like it's really, really scary stuff. But the thing is, though, the opening credits, the theme music to it actually is this kind of like, it's just violins going. And the thing is, as soon as I heard that music, like it all came flooding back from my childhood. I'm like, oh, that's right, this film fucked up. I started getting really tense watching it.
The funny thing about that movie is I don't remember anything about that movie except the abduction. Like I don't remember like who's in it and like what the hell happens. Except that I know that they kind of prove he didn't eat for all those days. I was like, okay, I guess they didn't believe him. And then it's like a maple syrup sends him into like a crazy flashback. Is that what it?
Yeah. But yeah, the weird thing of the cast is that it's got Elliot from E.T. in it, which is like, oh yeah, so you'd assume he must be the guy who gets abducted as like a nice little intertextual reference to E.T. But it's like, nah, he's just one of the guys. I'm like, what? Why bother getting him? And if he's not going to be the main person, and then the other main character is the T-1000, Robert Patrick's there.
Oh
like,
yeah.
But it's worth a watch though, just to see that. Like you can just YouTube that abduction.
Yeah,
scene.
just watch the abduction scene. It is like it's the only part that's worth watching because it's fucking scary. It's one of those things that like when I think I watched it, I must have been 8, and I would go to sleep thinking like all night for like an uncountable amount of nights with that image in my head, thinking I was going to be abducted by aliens, and that's how it was going to go down.
Oh no, that was the thing I was always the most scared of as a kid, was being abducted by aliens, because of that movie.
Yeah, you know what? Because that would and that one also. It doesn't sound screwed up and weird. It's that like in my child brain, that one seemed feasible. Like I'm like werewolves aren't. Yeah, exactly. I'm like werewolves are obviously not real, and there's no like Frankenstein monsters. Those are like made up. But we could have never. There could be aliens out there, and we just haven't found them yet. Like it's like 8-year-old me was logically thinking like it's within the realm of possibility.
Well, someone could have told me that Frankenstein monsters weren't real before I bought all this equipment and set up a hoist and a capacitor and all this kind of stuff. Bloody hell.
The thing is, I will add as an addendum though, like, because I've in recent years have looked up the true story of Fire in the Sky, and don't ever bother reading the guy's actual account because it's the most boring abduction story. It's literally like this. I think that was the producers just got like, what did he say happened? Oh, that Jesus Christ! Oh my God, no one's gonna want to watch that. It's so boring. Let's throw in every horrific thing you can think of happening to him. There you go. That's the abduction.
Yeah, it was. It's like so. Yeah, it's still. Yeah, everybody should look it up because it's one of these things that you're like. I think the whole scene is like 10 minutes tops, but it's oh God, it freaks me out. It's definitely one of those like top 10 things that traumatized me from as a kid.
I think I actually, because we did mention it on Facebook, and I think former and future guest of the show, like host of the Spider-Man, and Scott Corelli said, I think he said his grandfather took him to see it in the cinema when he was a kid, and he was just like, yeah, granddad didn't get to choose a lot of movies after that one.
Oh man,
like I don't fucking understand why.
Yeah, no, there's a couple like moments, like I would say, like in Jaws when Quint gets eaten. That was another like childhood one where like the blood spurts out of his mouth. I'm like, ah,
yes. No, classic scene. Classic.
That's one that childhood you will like freaking remember forever.
The thing, I love that though. Like I was just a gore hound to me as a kid. It was just like, oh my God, finally some blood. Here we go.
Look, as a kid, I used to love sharks, but I was also from Florida. So I was definitely one of those kids who thought the shark was going to be in my swimming pool, and also thought, yeah. And my cousin would really with me because she would say things like, first off, we would get a lot of hurricanes, and she's like, yeah, sometimes the storms, like this is pre-Sharknado too. She's like, the storms will pick up the sharks and then dump them in the pool. I'm like, and I'd be checking the whole pool. Like, it's a pool. You could see straight to the bottom. And I had to make sure that there was no shark. And I'd still get scared.
So someone put up, though, again, on Facebook the other day, a girl I know put up like a picture of a shark in a swimming pool going, like, here's a picture of all our irrational childhood fears. And I was like, there's a shark in a swimming pool? What do you mean irrational? There's a picture of it actually happening. There's proof we need it.
Photoshop, man.
No. There's definitely been like some. I mean, I know that in Australia, like that happens, like occasionally, because of floods, because like what's it called? And it's bull sharks because they can survive in like almost any type of freaking water.
Ah, okay. We'll have to get Dale on to talk about this. I'm sure that happens to her on a daily basis.
Yeah, no, I'd be. No, that's a horrible fear. But there's definitely a few of these moments. Like I would say, the 80s and up until like probably the mid 90s, there was like a couple of these moments where you're like forever like traumatized. I'm sure like Jurassic Park probably had a few. Let me think. Like when that arm comes off, when Samuel L. Jackson's arm comes off.
That's pretty gross.
Yeah, or the beginning, that first guy getting eaten by the raptor, right at the start of the movie. It's like, what the hell? And he's being like kind of, his fingers can't like hold on as he's like literally being eaten.
Now, the big one for me, again though, going to aliens was the beginning of E.T. Like that whole sequence of all the creepy aliens out in the forest and stuff, and then the bit where like Elliot first encounters him when he comes, like the first two bits when he encounters him, when he first bumps into him in the field and he disappears in the grass. Scared the crap out of me as a kid. I couldn't watch that bit. And then when he actually is then trying to make friends with him, it's like this creepy silhouette in his shed, and the music's really scary. It's like, why? I thought this was supposed to be like a heartwarming family tale. What the f*** is this? This is crazy.
That's why it's good though, because it's not too silly, not too cheesy.
Well, Raiders of the Lost Ark had that moment.
Yeah. Oh God, that used to freak me out. I mean, I loved every second of it, but yeah, the end of that movie, Jesus.
At Christmas time, you'll always get the Indiana Jones films on TV, and I refuse to watch them unless it's before like 6 p.m. because they're not going to show the ending properly. If you get like
they'll
BBC,
butcher it.
Yeah, BBC One at 1 p.m. is Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's like, that's not Raiders of the Lost Ark. You're not going to show the guys' heads melting and stuff because like, no, the kids might be scared.
My one as a kid that always scared me. I don't know. I might have mentioned this on the show. I'm not sure. It's it's in the first Ghostbusters. And it's the library ghost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would scare
scary.
the crap out of me. I could watch Alien. I could watch Terminator. I could watch Predator. I couldn't watch that. I had to hide.
Yeah, that was back in the day when kids could watch, things they weren't considered such pussies. No, I don't know. Like as a kid, I don't know if it's just what passed for PG-13 at the time was just like they'll all be considered R's. Like Terminator 2 that's an R, isn't it? Is it? I think it is, right? I'll get my head.
Well, in the UK.
Okay, it's a different rating system. I know.
I think it was it's like a 15 over here, because it wasn't quite.
It's definitely a 15 now, but when it came out, it might have. There wasn't a 15, was there?
I think I have a distinct memory in my head of it being 15 just for some reason, because I don't think it went as hard as 18, because that's a bit too much for Terminator 2. It's like, because the first one at least has him like taking it out his eyeball with a scalpel and stuff. I can understand that.
Yeah, this one has him ripping his arm off, all the skin on his arm.
It's a robot. They stab like the foster parents. Like I remember that.
Through the mouth.
Yeah.
He had it coming.
Okay. I'm trying.
Evil.
I'm trying to actually look it up now, and it's actually hard to find like what it was because it's different in the UK and then in the US. Oh yeah, it's an R. So Terminator 2 is an R. Which this is just now what I think. When I was young, like kids could watch kind of like only the Mormon kids would not be allowed to watch certain R-rated movies. But like Terminator 2, there was children's toys marketed.
Yeah. I had them all.
And that was an R-rated movie, but they assumed kids would watch it.
Yeah, they knew kids would like it. They knew
RoboCop
kids would watch
too.
it.
RoboCop also had kids' toys.
And aliens. I remember they had a whole range of like, you can get the gorilla alien and stuff like this.
Yeah,
I had them as well.
Yeah, and it's not like now, which is like, oh, but they expected kind of teenagers or adults to buy them. No, I mean they were commercials on TV for kids.
Yeah, they were toys. They weren't collector's items.
No,
Of course, then one of the major complaints though about Batman Returns was that it was inappropriate for kids and it was too scary and stuff. I did uncover though a treasure trove of interviews for Barry Norman did with the whole cast and Tim Burton with just really good stuff in there. But yeah, he says to Tim Burton, "It's like this is kind of like a horror movie you've made. Are you not worried that children are going to be scared about this?" And Tim Burton's just kind of laughing, like, "Oh, I think kids know their own limits, and like, hey, if they don't like it, they can leave." And it's like, yeah, fair enough, Tim.
Yeah.
Plus-
Yeah, like that beginning scene with the penguin. What does he eat the cat or kill the cat?
Yeah, well, we had a debate about that, whether he actually... for some reason, we always assumed that he ate the cat. But I don't know why, because there's no proof that he eats that cat. But it's just...
He must have done. But I think, in a way, that's a good thing, because to me, this whole movie is kind of like a horror movie for kids. Like, it's a kid's introduction to that style, that type of movie, that world.
But I will note as well, though, just because while it's fresh in my mind, that Tim Burton interview, I think the last thing he says in it, which I was just like, oh my god, because he's just like, oh yeah, because I can see a lot of things going on in society that are reflected in Batman Returns. I mean, like I think of like if the Penguin ran for president in our country, I think he might win it. And I was just like, oh Tim, dude, you don't know.
Oh my god,
Even worse.
I was like, that's near 30 years ago. It's just like, oh, dude, just you wait.
God, no.
Oh my god.
I don't want to get always into politics, but like even though it was 2 years ago, I still have moments where I'm like, I can't believe this is reality. Like, I really can't. Like, it sounds so surreal.
It does sound like something like this would be mentioned offhand in like Demolition Man. It's like, there was a period where Donald Trump was president, and you're like,
yeah.
The one thing though, actually occurring in the minute.
Yes, Batman.
If maybe you guys can decipher this a bit more, because this is a profile shot of Selina walking over to their answering machine, and she's chugging this milk. But I'm trying to read the brand name. See, like, is it an actual thing of milk or is it like a thing they made up? But it looks like, because it's in joint writing, so I can't quite make it out. It looks like it says saltiest. Like the milk's called saltiest. It's like, would that be a joke they made? It's like, yeah, it's saltiest milk.
Maybe it's called sultry milk. I don't know.
It is 2% though. So
I was going with Sullust, the planet in Star Wars.
Well, maybe. I mean, if Dan Waters would ever answer any of my messages to him, maybe we discover these things. We couldn't find out who did the voice of Selina's mother. We couldn't find out anything from this guy.
What's the milk? Well, you say it's 2%, and I have a question about that really, because this seems to be very American to give the fat, I'm assuming it's fat, percentage of the milk.
Yeah, it
like
is.
Here we just have 3. There's
You have
like
skim, low fat, and whole, right?
Yeah.
Well, slightly different. It's the skimmed, semi-skimmed, and is it whole? I don't know. Nobody buys that anymore, is it?
Yeah, it is whole because I buy whole. I buy whole.
I'm sure Neil Brown will appreciate it. I think it's full fat milk.
Full fat.
Okay, I'll say this: I always drink only full fat milk.
Really? Oh, I'm semi-skimmed. Like I've been semi-skimmed for years, man.
No, they add extra sugar to it. That's how they
That's how they
screw with your head. No, that's what they do.
At least the whole one actually tastes nice.
Milky.
Yeah. No, I don't even drink milk or have it on cereal. I have almond milk, but still.
I like almond milk, and I was drinking it for a little while, but it just wasn't milk enough for me. So I swapped. I drink whole milk, but it's lactose free because I have, me and Cashew share the same problem.
You're a cat. Don't feed you the milk.
Yeah.
Nah.
The thing, and then the less said about skimmed milk, the better. Frankly, it's just water with a white food coloring dripped into it, and they claim it's milk.
So is that what this is though? Being 2%? That doesn't sound like a lot. So is that skimmed?
It would be. What is skimmed here? I think I've read the label before.
That's like the least fatty one. It's
no. It's not skimmed. That's it's the second to whole milk.
So semi-skimmed.
Like you have
maybe.
whole milk. Yeah, well, like I said, we have 2%, 1%, and skimmed. So
I'll be semi-skimmed then, I think. Maybe.
I think 2%. Yeah, I think it's semi-skimmed.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you, man. I've lived here for 7 years, and I just have not analyzed the milk enough. I've just been like, oh, there's whole milk. That's the same right? Full fat. Yeah, I'll take it. Like people tell me, oh, I'll have a full fat Coke, and I always get really confused. Like, I'm like, what the hell do you mean full fat Coke? There's no Coke. There's no fat in Coke.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that because Niall alluded to it a minute ago. Our friend Neil Brown of the Mogwai Minute, he brings that up all the time on their show, and it just confuses Americans because he's English, and it confuses them so much. It's become like a running gag.
I put up a picture to him to the Mogwai Minute like a couple of months back because I bought a can of Coke, and right on the back it does have fat written down somewhere. It's been like, there you go, fat is in it. So.
No, it's not. You said 0. There is no fat. It's just sugar, which I don't appreciate the UK's new sugar tax. If I want to have sugar, I will. Do not tax me into like doing things for my health, because I find aspartame, or what they're using to basically artificially sweeten, has all kinds of carcinogens in it. It's terrible for you, and
oh yeah,
so,
it's bad. Like
this is how exciting Brighton is. There is a new Taco Bell that opened.
Oh, we just got one too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me just tell you guys, Taco Bell in the UK sucks. It's terrible. Like Taco Bell in America is pretty bad, but it's better. By that I mean, like, you guys have like 1/8 of the menu choices, and it's none of the real good stuff. Like, you guys don't have...
And it's 3 times the price, I imagine.
Yeah, it's 3 times the price. And then I can't even get a goddamn Pepsi, because all they have is the diet stuff. They have Pepsi Max.
Hey, what?
Yeah, I'm serious. They do not sell the full fat Coke or the full fat Pepsi or the full fat anything. All of it, every single drink they have has artificial sweetener in it.
That's insane. It's a fast food place. You might as well just have the Pepsi. What's the difference?
Okay, this is how frustrated I get. The thing is, I've had so many of my friends insist that we go there. Like, I guess they think it's cute because I'm American, and they're like, Taco Bell, let's go to Taco Bell. I hate Taco Bell, but I've had to go there like 4 or 5 times already because they just want to go for the experience, and they want like an American next to them to like gauge them. I'm like, what do you want from me?
Well, yeah, it's a cute, like exciting foreign concept.
Taco Bell, what it actually is, kids, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know that, is like, it was the way it got started was it was the first fast food place to be open past like 11 p.m. They used to be open till 2 a.m. So their whole market was stoners. It's stoner food, okay? And drunk people. That's what it was originally. Now they're all 24 hours. I mean, except for here. But in America, almost all fast food places are 24 hours. Because why else would you eat there except, when you're in a totally strange state of mind? So, on top of that, like, we had, like, the options are just so much nicer. Like, in the States, like, we have, like, chalupas and gorditas and, like, the Mexican pizza. Like, all the stuff that's great, like, you guys just don't have it. I'm like, oh, this is totally, like, this is Taco Bell in 1991. Like, that's what you guys have.
Well, we are a backward country.
It is a little bit like, oh, no. I like living in the UK. I mean, to a degree. Not right now, because, like, your economy's in the toilet. Like,
well, I don't like living here, so, you can have my place.
I was wondering, though, what, like, the listeners are thinking, though, because, like, this minute of the movie is probably one of the most dramatic big things of Selina reaching her breaking point, and we're 34 minutes in, and we've talked about aliens, full fat Coke and milk, and Taco Bell.
Don't feed your cats milk.
But in the meantime, this big moment for Michelle Pfeiffer is happening in the movie. Like, oh yeah, I should get to that sometime.
It is quite hard. I mean, it is like one of these minutes where it's like, okay, what is happening here? She's mad at her mom. She drinks milk. She's mad at the milk. I'm like, yeah, like, she's mad at the answer machine.
I do like the way she's in such a haze and stuff that she walks over to the answer machine and she's drinking the milk and just spilling it everywhere, which again is disgusting because that's not coming out of those clothes easy.
What she's about to do to the apartment isn't bad enough. It's like the smell in there, man, from that spilled
You'll
milk.
never get your deposit back. Like, that's what I thought. Watching the next minute and the minute after, that's, like a true person who's ever had to rent. That's what you think, right? You're like, oh man, her deposit is just gone. You'll never get that deposit back.
You probably know full well then that, like I do, that the landlord's going to try anything to not give you that deposit back anyway. Any scheme they can pull to try and keep that money, they're gonna do. Like, oh, you've slightly damaged this worktop.
I've had two landlords in the UK, and the first one was a total typical, not the stereotype, but Cockney sleazeball. He really was. I was like, damn, you're right out of goddamn freaking Dickens novel. You could be freaking Bill Sykes. That's what he seems like. I was like, that's what it totally felt like when we were renting from him. I'm like, I swear that's who we're renting from.
See, that would be a sign to me that something's not above board with this rental.
But the second people we had was a Greek family, and they actually were really nice, and they did not screw us at all with the deposit. I don't want to be a landlady. Like, people have constantly, and I mean constantly, because I guess it's so hard to find apartments or flats in anywhere in the UK, but particularly Brighton is really bad. But so people are trying all the time. I have Airbnbs, and people are always trying to convince me to let them rent by the month. And I'm like, are you crazy? No way. Absolutely not. I shan't be having it. Not in this house. One, I make way more money. I know, I'm a true capitalist. I make way more money by renting it out by the night. Two, no, I can't deal with that. People really dealing with Airbnb guests already. Anyone who follows me on Facebook will hear my rants on her. There's new ones every couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, I saw a few of those recently, actually.
Oh yeah, the poop on the rug.
Oh my god!
It's we were trying to see physically how it happened, because it started in the shower, or it went from either the toilet to the shower or the shower to the toilet, because we're like, this is what's happened here. And I'm like, you would think maybe they were young and drunk, but they were middle-aged people.
The worst of all.
And we're like, what the problem is with people who are, I don't want to say older, because I'm not that young anymore, but I'm older-ish, is that they're not as familiar with the Airbnb system. So they're used to hotels, where in hotels, you can be basically as gruesomely gross as you want. It's somewhat acceptable, assuming you don't break anything.
Yeah.
But in an Airbnb, you're kind of expected to leave the place semi like you found it. You shouldn't leave every
That
dish
makes sense, yeah.
in the sink. You shouldn't just cause chaos and destruction. Let's just say that. And I stay in Airbnbs all the time because I love them. I'm an Airbnb both host and guest, because it's way cheaper and you get much better for your buck. But some people just do not get the concept of it, and they just will be the most freaking disgusting human beings on the planet. It's almost shocking. I'm like, how do you think that this is acceptable? What strange, not even wolves would raise their cubs to be so gross. Oh, man,
maybe they died and got resurrected by wolves.
Yeah.
I couldn't even start with telling you all the gruesomeness. People are gross. I was also gonna go on a rant against. I don't know if you guys ever know this, but all right. So if you guys don't know, not only am I scientifically speaking female, but I also identify as a woman. I am the whole the package deal. So just in case you're wondering, but there's an issue that has popped up recently, and that is a whole movement about free bleeding, right? Which is basically you have your period and you just let it fly because that's what nature intended or whatever. And I'm like, no, please.
Wait, just let it run down your leg and stuff?
Oh, yeah, I'm not even kidding. Okay. Which is comes down to then, guess what? Sometimes people just leave the bed sheets oh.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Ah.
And I'm like, oh, God. The thing is, we have washing machines in the flats. Just can you please, I beg of you. I'm just be so courteous as to just wash them. You just, or take them out of sight, somewhere. But instead, no, they're like, well, screw it. I exploded blood last night, and I'll just leave it there for you to find. Have fun. And I'm like, and I'm a woman, and we've all had our accidents, but, there's a technique for this. It's called, washing it. That's what you do.
Yeah, like if I cut myself and bled, like I'd clean it. Like, it's blood.
Yeah.
Clean it up.
But I will say, talking about lack of courtesy, Selina Kyle,
Oh, sorry, you keep taking us back. You have to.
But no, it's just the thing is, because of what she's about to do, can't help but notice she left that apartment door lying wide open. So, like, all the neighbors going to be like, what the f*** is happening in there? Like, is anyone going to come and be like, hey, Selina, you having trouble?
Well,
Like, what's going on?
In a normal place, yeah, but this is Gotham. Hearing your neighbors smashing the place up or getting in a fight, probably normal behavior. I've lived in flats where you can hear the neighbors. Sometimes you think they've murdered each other. And you just have to kind of roll with it. You're like, well, what can I do? Yeah. If I ring the police, they're probably going to murder me.
I know it was me. Oh yeah, I definitely had those moments. I'm totally one of these ladies. Like, this is how I can tell I'm getting older, because I have called. Like, the problem is on my street is that I have a one-way street. So because I have a one-way street, the lorries or vans or whatever the hell it is, they've decided that the perfect place to stop is my house on the curve. Like, they just go right on the pavement. They're like, okay. And then they basically park their van right where my house is. Like, they block my entrance sometimes. Like, they literally block the doorway. Like, I'm like, I can't get out of here. And, or they block the basement entrance. And so I've gotten is that now I have a sign up. I put a sign on my window saying, do not park there. Because if there's one thing I've learned about the city of Brighton, is that you call the police and they'll take an hour to get here. Now, you call them with a parking complaint, someone not doing the parking right, these parking people come out like ninjas. Like, they just, woof, like within 2 minutes. I remember calling it in, and it was an automated system. It was like I even called, like, I actually called to complain about the stupid van. And this lady, like, came out, like, I saw her just, woof, from the corner. Aha, like, she was ready. Like, I think they get commission off the tickets. Is that how it works? Because this lady was ready to go. Because she, like, came, like, ready to get rid of that van. I was like, oh, wow. So, yeah, now that I'm older and, like, I call in the vans that park in front of my house. And I also yell at people in the street from my balcony. But, yeah, no, they're, like, no, it's funny because, yeah, maybe she lives in this crazy bad neighborhood and stuff. My neighborhood, well, let me just I'll call it what it is. It's very popular. It is a popular neighborhood, but it also is where, like, I guess all the drunk people like to dive into to, have arguments. So I'm like, oh no, at like 3 a.m. It's quite a down because summer is, kind of over. But so we've had so many cases of this. Like, I had one guy, he kept knocking on my door, like, in the middle of the night. And, I'll give you guys some warning about, like, pregnant ladies. We're mean as hell. I have never been more mean and more like fearless. I don't know why I'm so fearless. Like, I really shouldn't be saying the things I have been lately to people, but I do. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's really bad because, like, this guy, big guy too. I was like 6'2", maybe 6'3". He was big. He kept knocking on the door, and then I had to go downstairs and open the door, and he's like starts talking gibberish. Like, I didn't quite get what he meant. And I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe he doesn't speak English. I'm like, are you a friend of one of the guests? And he's like, yeah. And then he manages to say, can I stay here tonight? And I'm like, no. And I close the door and then, like, go back upstairs. And 10 minutes later, he's knocking again. And no. I see him, like, knocking on my door. So I open my window and I go on my balcony because I'm, like, on the floor above. I'm on the first floor. And I'm like, hey, I start yelling at him. I'm like, stop knocking on the door. And then he goes to my neighbor's house and proceeds to break in their door. Oh, yeah, apparently he did. Like, and then I'm calling the police and they came an hour later. And he spent an hour breaking into their house. Like, he spent a full hour. And we're both calling. Like, the neighbors are there. And they're like, oh, my God, this guy's trying to break in. And I'm, like, also there, like, calling the police, being like, hello. This guy's breaking into my neighbor's house. They literally are having to stop him.
I had that happen once. Like, someone was breaking into my block of flats. And we rang the police and their advice was, could you go down and speak to him and see what he wants? It's like, no. I don't know who it is. He could be crazy. You come and speak to him. They did eventually.
Yeah, it is a bit of an eventually situation. Somebody told me that they're like, oh, like the trick is just to tell them that you're in fear for your life. I'm like, well, that's great. That's what I have to say. Lovely, but it's such an opposite reaction to the American way, which is also terrible. Like, I don't
All
know
guns blazing.
Yeah, basically, it's like the American way is like, oh, can't wait to shoot him up. Woo! Bah, 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 bah. Like, I'm like, oh crap, You either get it's either you get the police who don't freaking show up, which is here, or you go to the U.S. and you get literal cowboys who are like yeehaw, they're ready to shoot into the air, like, oh god, and
it'd be great though, at the end, much like the end of Airplane, the very end of this movie, post credits was just Selina's abandoned apartment, and then Commissioner Gordon and a bunch of policemen showing up and be like, all right, what's going on here? And it's they finally showed, someone called the police upstairs, oh, we hear there's a bit of noise going on around here.
Well, it's very hard to know what else to say about the minute, really. I mean, yeah, Selina goes over to the answer machine.
I mean, this is a big moment though for Selina's finally snapping mentally here. She hearing more pestering phone calls from Ricardo Montalban there reprising his role as Selina Kyle's mother. Yes. We have that weird shot actually where because her answering machine is right beside the wall. And then it cuts, and they've obviously taken away that wall. So it's there was a wall there. We shouldn't be able to see this shot because there's supposed to be a freaking wall behind the answering machine.
I completely forgot even to bring that up because we've been so kind of sidetracked. Yeah, the wall has just vanished.
Unless it's made of the same material that Wonder Woman's invisible jet is made of or something. But yeah, no, there is a big build up here though, because you get the automated message coming in talking about Selina Kyle, perhaps you'd be interested in blah 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 blah, and if you were to wear this, maybe maybe your boss would be interested in having you around for a candlelit dinner for two, which is one, it's bad timing because her boss just threw her out a window, and then it's also just bad as well. 'Cause I was just wondering is that what they assume women's dreams are? It's oh, the boss is going to fall in love with you.
Of course, yes.
And
every secretary wants to have an affair with the boss. That's
yeah. That's the thing. That is I've never seen 50 Shades of Grey, but that is the plot, isn't it? That she's the secretary to.
I think so. Yeah, because it's basically a rip-off of Secretary, the movie, where she is a secretary.
Yeah. And of course, I just thought that was an interesting connection because that is the plot of 50 Shades of Grey. Of course, that stars Dakota Johnson, who is the daughter of Melanie Griffiths, who was in Working Girl, who had the part that Michelle Pfeiffer was up for in Working Girl. So there you go.
Everything's connected. We need a theme song. Let's get Kit to make a theme song for Everything's Connected that we can just jingle in every now and then.
So after a while, he's going to start asking for money for this stuff.
I could just impersonate him. I don't know. Everything's connected.
Oh, that was pretty good. But something though, if you started acting as Kit and you just all of a sudden you're number one and stuff, and then this John Parker guy, he's got
That's basically the plot of Hedwig. Very similar, very similar.
But yeah, we just do. I do we'll say that's a pretty big, well done, powerful moment though. Just because it's building up and you can see Selina sort of getting more and more just sort of distraught as the message goes on, and then just at the end saying available from Shrek's department store, and then it all comes tumbling down, and she freaks out and throws the milk at the machine, and the music kicks in. It's a really good moment. It's a really powerful moment of the movie.
Yeah, I love her acting. You feel her rage and her pain and frustration and anger and everything comes across at once. That's why I feel kind of it's a bit awkward the way the minute ends just as it gets to this great bit. Because the really cool bit is split over the 2 minutes, so it's left us with a bit of a difficulty in conversation.
Yeah. We had that in the last one though, because I remember I kept getting frustrated with the origin of the Joker was all of him laughing in the plastic surgeon chair. It's that's the best scene in the movie, split up over 2 minutes though, so you don't get the full impact of his laugh because I was kind of building to it. Now we have to stop talking.
Same
about
here.
it.
I'm sure we'll go a lot more into the freak out. That sounds a bit too cool. The freak out, man.
The great Gotham freak out starring Selina Kyle.
That sounds incredible. But yeah, we'll get more into it in the next minute on Wednesday, I'm sure. So it is time for us to head into the dark, dark night. Stephanie, I'm sure our listeners by now know you well and know where to find you online, but just in case they're new, would you like to tell them what it is you do and where they can find your work?
Yeah, so I am Stephanie Palacino, or you can call me Caffine Jedi. That's Caffine Jedi. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm on apparently on Instagram, but I barely update that. And what's that other one? Twitter. I'm also never on there. I mean, but I'm there, like technically. And yeah, no, I vlog, I make films, and I'm working on actually, I would say I'm working on a comic book, but the comic book is turned into a different project, sort of. It's going to be kind of semi-animated, so you guys will actually be able to watch episodes of an animated comic book. I recorded the voices recently.
Hey. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I remember you mentioning it to us in the past. In fact, it might have been on our hiatus episode, actually, I think.
It probably was, but I've just recorded everyone except for the lead character because she's in Los Angeles. So I'm going to have to figure that one out.
Well, good luck with that. And listeners, as well as checking that out, make sure to keep in touch with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you like. We have an email. We've never been emailed before, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. You have to figure it out. And if you can figure it out, you win a prize. Niall will draw you an image of me in any erotic pose you desire.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that's...
I did not... You gotta get some weirdo doing this, John. I didn't agree to do this.
That's Niall's promise. Actually, I probably shouldn't promise this because I know one listener does know the email. But on that bombshell, we will leave you now to enjoy your Monday. See you again on Wednesday.
Next time, a catniption fit. Lactose-laced lashings of flipped-out destruction lead Selina towards an animal effigy eruption. But as more mementos and mirrors are cracked, what will be hauled off the rack as Selina sees a pink door and she wants it painted black? Find out Wednesday, same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.